example, you've got your coffee, maybe you're planning a trip to Southeast Asia or just scrolling the news.
Right.
You're scrolling and scrolling, and then you just stop because you see a headline that feels like it was, I don't know, ripped straight out of a movie script.
That's never a good sign when the
Yeah.
news starts to read like a disaster movie.
Exactly. You see these reports, airports in places like Thailand, Hong Kong, Singapore, they're rolling out thermal scanners. You see these urgent health bulletins, and then you see the name of the virus, a virus with a fatality rate that can hit, what, 75%?
That number definitely has a way of grabbing your attention. It stops the scroll cold.
Stops the scroll. It practically threw my phone across the room. I saw words like brain swelling, no cure, and high mortality. And I admit, I had a moment of pure panic. I thought, oh no, here we go again. But then I remembered that's exactly why we do this, to take a deep breath, push the panic aside, and actually look at the research.
And that's the perfect approach. Because with the Nipah virus, there's a huge gap between the terrifying headlines and the actual risk to, the average person right now.
So consider this your mission briefing. We're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to explain what this virus is, why the World Health Organization takes it so seriously, but also why, despite the scary stats, you probably don't need to cancel your travel plans just yet.
The goal today is to replace that fear with respect. We have to respect this virus because it is incredibly dangerous, but we also need to understand the context so we aren't paralyzed by it.
I like that. Respect, not paralysis. So let's start at the very beginning. Every good villain has an origin story. Who or what is the antagonist here?
Right. Well, Nipah is what we call a zoonotic virus.
Zoonotic.
It's just the technical term for a pathogen that jumps from animals to humans. And in this case, the natural reservoir, the creature that carries it around without getting sick, is the fruit bat.
Fruit bats.
Specifically from the Pteropus genus. You might know them as flying foxes.
Flying foxes. Now, if you've seen a picture of one, they're not your typical little spooky bats. They're huge. They have these big, almost soulful eyes and fox-like faces. They're actually kind of cute.
They are magnificent animals, and they're vital for the ecosystem as pollinators. But biologically, they're also excellent virus reservoirs. The virus just lives in them, and they shed it in their saliva, their urine.
Okay, so we have a bat. It has the virus, but how does it get to me? I'm guessing I don't have to get in a fight with a flying fox to catch this.
No, and please don't do that. The transmission is usually a chain. It's almost never a direct bat-to-human jump. Historically, there's an intermediate host.
An amplifier.
An amplifier, what do you mean?
Think of it as a biological megaphone. The bat carries a little bit of the virus. It drops a half-eaten piece of fruit or, urinates into a pig pen. The pig eats it. Now, a pig's physiology is similar enough to ours that the virus can really take hold. It gets inside the pig and it replicates like crazy. The viral load becomes massive.
So the pig basically becomes a virus factory. Exactly. And then humans who work very closely with those pigs, farmers, slaughterhouse workers, they're exposed to these huge amounts of the virus through the pig's bodily fluids. That's the classic bat-to-pig-to-human pathway.
Okay, that makes sense. But the research we looked at mentioned another route, and I have to say, this one really stuck with me because it's so specific. It's almost cinematic.
You're definitely talking about the date palm sap.
Yes. This blew my mind. Walk us through this, because this isn't about pigs at all, is it?
No, this cuts out the middleman entirely. In parts of South Asia, particularly Bangladesh and India, there's a tradition of collecting fresh date palm sap. It's a sweet, sugary drink. People shave the tree trunk, hang a clay pot, and let the sap drip out overnight.
It sounds delicious, like nature's energy drink.
It is. But here's the problem. We aren't the only ones who love sugar. Fruit bats love it too. So at night, these flying foxes fly in, they land on the pot, and they drink the sap.
And while they're hanging there,
they might lick the sap stream, contaminating it with saliva. Or, even more likely, they might just urinate right into the pot while they're drinking.
And then the next morning,
a person climbs the tree, takes the pot down, and either sells it or drinks it. If they drink that sap raw, fresh from the tree, they're essentially drinking a viral cocktail.
That is a horrifying image, but it's also really helpful, right? Because it shows the virus doesn't just magically appear. You have to be part of a very specific chain of events.
Precisely. It's biology, not magic.
Right.
The virus needs a vehicle. Whether it's pig fluids or contaminated sap, it can also be fruit. If a bat bites a mango, leaves saliva, and you pick it up and eat it without washing, that's another vector.
So if I'm not drinking raw sap from under a bat roost, my risk drops a lot.
Drastically.
Yeah.
It's all about breaking that connection.
Okay, so we know how it gets in. Let's talk about why those headlines are so terrifying. We mentioned that 75% fatality rate. Can you contextualize that for us?
I can. I mean, we've all become armchair epidemiologists
And you
lately.
have.
So think about COVID-19. In the early days, before vaccines, the case fatality rate was maybe 1 to 3%. And look at the chaos that caused. Nipah's rate ranges from 40% to 75%, depending on the outbreak.
That's a coin flip or worse.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
It's exceptionally high. That's why the WHO keeps Nipah on its short list of priority pathogens. They know if this thing ever figured out how to spread easily, it would be catastrophic.
And what does it actually do to a person? I saw respiratory distress, but I also saw the word encephalitis.
Yeah, and that's the scary part. It usually starts deceptively mild. You get flu-like symptoms, a fever, muscle aches, sore throat.
So it flies under the radar at first.
Exactly. A doctor on day 2 might just think it's the flu. But then, for many patients, it takes a sharp, aggressive turn. You can get severe pneumonia, difficulty breathing. But the real nightmare scenario is the encephalitis,
Whichly?
inflammation of the brain. The virus crosses the blood-brain barrier and the brain tissue just swells. This leads to confusion, drowsiness, disorientation.
And the timeline on this is fast, isn't it?
Terrifyingly fast. A patient can go from feeling a little confused to being in a coma within 24 to 48 hours. It's a blitzkrieg on your central nervous system.
Wow. And then there's the incubation period.
Sure.
That adds another layer of anxiety.
It does. That's the huge challenge for containment. The time from infection to showing symptoms is typically 4 to 14 days. But there have been cases where it was much longer,
How much longer?
up to 45 days.
45 days. That's a month and a half.
Yes.
So you could get infected, travel to a major city, get on an international flight, fly across the world, and then get sick.
That's it, exactly. And that potential for silent travel is why you see airports in places like Hong Kong and Thailand reacting so fast. They're trying to catch that one needle in the haystack.
It's an aggressive insurance policy.
That's a great way to put it.
I want to pivot a bit. We're talking about this like it's a new threat, but it's not new, is it?
Not at all. To really understand Nipah, you have to go back to 1999, to a village in Malaysia called Sungai Nipah.
The first major outbreak. And reading the sources on this, it sounds like a complete tragedy for that community.
It was devastating. At the time, Malaysia had this booming pig farming industry. And in 99, pigs started getting sick with this weird, loud, barking cough. Then the farmers started collapsing.
And nobody knew what was going on?
To zero clue. They thought it was Japanese encephalitis, which is spread by mosquitoes. So they were fogging villages with insecticide, but people kept dying.
So it wasn't the mosquitoes.
It was the pigs. And once they figured that out, the solution was just brutal. The army was deployed. They had to cull over 1 million pigs.
1 million.
It just wiped out the industry. Generations of family farms gone overnight. The economic and psychological toll was immense.
There was a story in the notes about the survivors. Because even if you survive, you're not always okay, are you?
No. Sadly, a significant percentage of survivors from that outbreak had permanent neurological damage. The encephalitis scarred their brains. People who, years later, still have convulsions or personality changes. It's a heavy burden for families.
But there was also that story of adaptation, the one about the farmers who switched crops.
Yes, the data's report. It's really fascinating. Some of the families who lost everything decided they didn't want to go back to that kind of intensive farming. They felt that it contributed to the disaster.
So they pivoted?
They started growing dragon fruit.
From pigs to dragon fruit.
It's such a stark change, right? It's a cactus, it grows in the sun, it's clean, it feels symbolic.
It does, like trying to find a new balance with nature.
Exactly.
So that was 1999. But the reason we're talking about this now is because it keeps popping up, specifically in India.
Yes. The southern state of Kerala has become a recurring hotspot. They've had a few outbreaks, including cases as recently as late 2023.
And the fear there was about it getting into the hospitals.
That's always the biggest fear. In one of the recent outbreaks, the first patient wasn't diagnosed right away. 2 healthcare workers who cared for him ended up testing positive.
That is the nightmare scenario.
It is. But, and here's the most important part of this whole deep dive, the part that should lower your heart rate. That outbreak didn't explode. It didn't become COVID 2.0.
Okay, why? Why not?
It comes down to a concept called R0 or R0.
Right.
It's a measure of how contagious a virus is, how many people one sick person infects. For COVID, especially Omicron, the R0 was huge. One person could infect 10 others just by breathing in a room.
Because it was airborne?
Exactly. Nipah is different. Its R0 is typically estimated to be less than 1,
Less than one.
which means, on average, a sick person infects fewer than one other person. The virus tends to burn itself out.
So it's hard to catch.
It requires very close contact with bodily fluids, blood, urine, saliva. It's not generally considered an airborne virus in the same way. You don't walk past someone in a supermarket and catch Nipah.
Okay, that is a massive relief. So Nipah is like a tank, not a fighter jet. It's deadly if it runs you over, but it's slow.
That is a fantastic analogy. It's a biological tank, powerful but clumsy at spreading.
So when we hear about health officials tracing 200 contacts and they all test negative, that's the system working.
That's the system working beautifully. Health ministries in places like Kerala do not mess around with Nipah. As soon as the case is confirmed, they go into overdrive. They trace everyone, they quarantine, they test,
They lock it down,
they
yeah.
suffocate the virus before it can find a new host.
So let's bring this down to the individual. I'm listening. Maybe I am planning that trip. What do I actually need to do?
The advice is actually quite practical. First, remember the source. Bats. If you're in an area where this virus exists, just avoid contact with bats. Don't go exploring bat caves.
I feel like don't take a selfie with a giant bat is just good life advice in general.
I would agree. Second, be aware of intermediate animals like pigs. And then there's the food.
The date palm sap.
That's the big one. If you're in Bangladesh or that region, just avoid the raw stuff. If it's boiled into molasses or fermented, it's fine. Heat kills the virus very easily.
What about fruit? Can I eat a mango?
Absolutely. But follow that golden rule of travel. Wash it, peel it, or cook it. And inspect it. If you find a fruit on the ground, don't eat it. If you see one on a tree with bite marks, just throw it away.
Because that bite might have come from a bat.
Exactly. And just washing the fruit thoroughly is key.
And pork. Is it safe to eat pork?
Yes. If it's cooked properly, it's safe. Heat destroys the virus. The main danger was for the farmers handling the live, sick animals.
Okay. So hygiene, cooking, common sense. What about the medical side? If the worst happens, is there a cure?
Currently, no. There's no specific cure. The treatment is what we call supportive care.
Which means?
It means doctors do everything they can to keep the patient alive while their own immune system fights the war. They manage the fever, help with breathing, try to control seizures. It's a battle of endurance.
That sounds grim. Is there any good news on the horizon?
There is. Science is moving fast. One of the sources mentioned that scientists at Oxford University are working on a Nipah vaccine.
Oxford, the same group that did the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine.
The very same. They're using similar technology, and the exciting part is they've actually started human trials in Bangladesh.
Really? That's further along than I realized.
It is. It's still early days, but the goal probably isn't to vaccinate everyone in the world. It's to have it ready for something called ring vaccination.
Ring vaccination.
Imagine an outbreak starts in one village. You immediately go and vaccinate everyone in that village. The ring around the virus, plus all the healthcare workers, you build a firewall.
That is incredibly encouraging. It feels like we're finally getting ahead of the curve on some of these things.
You're much better equipped now than in 1999.
So to wrap this all up, we started with the panic,
Yeah.
the 75% death rate, the brain swelling.
And those facts are true. Nipah is a formidable virus, a very serious biological threat. But it's not an unstoppable monster. It's a contact disease. It relies on specific, avoidable interactions. It doesn't sweep through a city like a wildfire. It smolders.
So the message is, be aware, not afraid.
Precisely. If you understand the transmission, you can block it. Wash your hands. Wash your fruit. Respect the wildlife.
You know, that brings me to a final thought. That story about the pig farmers switching to dragon fruit, it really feels like Nipah is a symptom of a bigger issue.
It absolutely is. You can't look at human health in isolation. There's this idea of one health, that human health, animal health, and environmental health are all deeply connected.
And Nipah spills over when we blur those boundaries.
Exactly. When we cut down forests, bats lose their homes and move into our orchards. When we industrialize farming right next to their habitat, we build a bridge for the virus to cross.
It's like nature pushing back.
In a way, yes. The best prevention for the future might not just be a vaccine. It might be learning to respect those ecological boundaries. If we give the bats their space, the virus stays with the bats.
That is a powerful thought to end on. We think of these viruses as alien invaders, but really they're part of a complex system that we're messing with.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, there you have it, the Nipah virus. Scary stats, fascinating biology, but a manageable risk. Keep washing your fruit, maybe skip the raw tree sap for now, and stay curious. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.
Stay safe, everyone.
We'll catch you on the next one.